Hi there, folks. Thanks for joining us today on DocTalk. We have a great show today. We're going to talk about antibiotic usage in cattle operations. Our guest, Dr. Fred Gingrich, and he is from Ashland, Ohio, and we're going to be joining him and talking about different ways and different understandings of using antibiotics on your ranch or on your dairy farm. Closed caption brought to you by AgriLabs, the perfect pairing of performance and value. Welcome to the show, Dr. Gingrich.
Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. And folks, we have Dr. Fred Gingrich, who is an owner and operator of a mixed animal practice in Ashland, Ohio, but you do a lot with dairy cattle as well.
Yes, most of my work is with dairy farms and a little bit with beef operations.
Awesome. And as you can see from our backdrop, we're on the road today. And so DocTalk is breaking out of the studio, and we're out and about so that we can pick up people from different parts of the United States and really start to expand the vision and the understanding of what's going on within our industries nationally and globally. And you know, Fred, you've been very active with the bovine practitioners, and you're very active on many different fronts. And one of the fronts that you're active on is this antibiotic usage in cattle.
Absolutely, and I think it's a real hot topic issue right now on farms with consumers and with legislation as well.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to, sometimes to make the tie from the producer to the packer to the consumer, and then we make that jump to legislatively, and then everybody's affected all the way along.
Absolutely, and farmers and ranchers want access to these products, and we all need to use them responsibly, and we need consumers to have the confidence that the animals that we're raising for food are treated well and that their food is safe.
Yeah, and when you start to think about antibiotics and their usage, it's one of those things that whether you say, pre-harvest, harvest, consumer, the veterinarian's integral.
Absolutely, and I think consumers, they want veterinarians to be involved, and we're going to talk a little bit today about why farmers and ranchers should have veterinarians involved, how it's advantageous both to their operation as well as to the health and productivity of their animals.
Right, and as we move along, we'll talk about that veterinary client-patient relationship, but when we think about antibiotics and we go back to antibiotics, what are some of the talking points when you're talking to your producers, about, using it on the label or using it per directions and things to that nature?
I think the number one thing that we want to make sure of is that the animals that are getting treated with antibiotics should be treated with antibiotics. And so, there needs to be some type of formal decision-making process on the farm, either with the farmer or their employees, about how they're going to use antibiotics and make sure they're using them in an appropriate manner.
You bet. Well, we're about time for a break now, and so we'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue our discussion with Dr. Fred Gingrich, who is from Ashland, Ohio. We're talking about antibiotics usage on farms for beef cattle and dairy operations. You're watching DocTalk. We're sure glad that you joined us today.
This segment was brought to you by Brute Cattle Equipment, makers of the Brute Stealth Hydraulic Chute. If the chute fits, swear by it. Visit our website for more information. Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Working your cattle just got easier. Introducing the new Vet Gun delivery system, a new way to apply topical insecticides to your cattle. The Vet Gun lets you remotely treat cattle with effective parasite control, so you can do it from an ATV, on horseback, or just walking among the herd. It's that simple. The proven topical insecticide AML Vet Cap is used with the Vet Gun. It works fast to control horn flies and lice while minimizing stress on your cattle. Fast, easy, effective. Vet Gun. Check with your animal health supplier for availability.
Got cattle? Rotomix manufactures a complete line of energy-efficient rotary and vertical feed mixers for feedlots, beef production, dairy, and cow-calf operations. Our mixers are available with the patented Generation 2 staggered rotor, the industry standard for feeding wet rations that include wet distiller's grain. Made in the USA, Rotomix mixers are designed for feeding performance that American cattlemen and dairy producers have come to expect. Rotomix, proud to offer a better mix in less time using less fuel.
Hello friends, I'm Ernie Rodina.
And I'm Dawn Dawson with the Better Horses Radio Show.
For over 9 years, we've been bringing the Better Horses Radio Show to markets all across the Midwest. We talk about God, lots about horses.
We talk about cows, we talk about horse health, we talk to top trainers, and we even talk about Roy Rogers.
We're having a blast with Better Horses Radio Show and would love to take it to a market near you.
So visit our website at betterhorsesradio.com and let us or your local radio station know you'd like to hear it in your area.
The Better Horses Radio Show is unbelievable.
You know, I think people are just kind of born with a passion.
I wouldn't be where I am today without that horse.
Oh, I'm not passionate about horses. That's just something that's in here. I can't explain it.
Some people go to a job every day. I just go do what I love to do. That's all I know is horse.
The bottom line, we're for the horse. It's whatever we can do to make life better for the horse, wherever they are, whatever they do.
They're just magic, that's all. They got me.
If we always do what's right for the horse, we will never go wrong.
This segment is brought to you by Norbrook Laboratories, manufacturers of Enroflox 100, the newest addition to your arsenal for treating bovine and swine respiratory disease.
Hi there, folks. Welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here, and DocTalk is on the road. And we are visiting with Dr. Fred Gingrich, who is a mixed animal practitioner and owner who does a lot of dairy and beef cattle work in the Ashland, Ohio area. And thanks for joining us today. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule that we could get you here to visit on an important topic, antibiotics in food animal production. But let's start out with what we call the VCPR, or the veterinary client-patient relationship.
Well, the VCPR is an integral part of using any type of drug on dairy and beef farms. It's actually a federal law called AMDUCA, the Animal Medical Drug Use Act, and essentially that describes how veterinarians should have input on use of antibiotics on farms.
And so when we start to think about this, and the VCPR is kind of one of those debated what exactly it is or what constitutes a veterinary client-patient relationship, what are some of the things that go through your thought process when you're saying, okay, I have a VCPR with this beef producer or dairy producer?
I think there's probably three important points of a VCPR. The first one is that veterinarian is familiar with the animals and the farm operation, and that can take various forms. Veterinary visits to the farm are a very integral part of that familiarity with the operation. I think the second part of a VCPR is we want to make sure that producers are keeping accurate treatment records of the animals that they treat.
Sure.
That's extremely important. And then the third part is that there needs to be some oversight or some monitoring of those records to ensure that the antibiotics or other drugs are being used in the most effective manner that we can use them.
Yeah, and I think that it gets back to, I don't know that the producers sometimes understand the value of that VCPR and protecting them, and protecting the food that they're producing.
Yeah. You know, the FDA has stated that one of the biggest things they find in violative residue issues is that there's a lack of a VCPR, that having an adequate VCPR decreases the risk of having residues, and all farmers want to avoid those residues and those violations. By having that VCPR, veterinarians can both decrease the risk of a residue as well as improve the effectiveness of a farmer or rancher's treatment on their animals. And oftentimes we see that that can greatly decrease their drug costs as well as improve the response of their animals and return them to health and productivity.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to note that when we have a residue issue, it goes back to those producers and they're on a list from that point forward.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we don't want, one of our goals is, to have no residues. It's a lofty goal, but that's what we're always striving for. We do not want, our producers to be visited by the FDA. And by having that goal, we also can improve the confidence in the food that we're making.
I think it's great. After the break, we'll have more with Dr. Fred Gingrich.
This Meet the Veterinarian is brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals. Dr. Cody Poehler is part of the talented team of veterinary professionals at the Wharton Veterinary Clinic. This mixed animal practice received the Texas Veterinary Heritage Award for a practice over 50 years old. Dr. Poehler is a graduate of Texas A&M University. Born and raised in Texas, Dr. Poehler and his wife Toni make their home in East Bernard.
As dependable as the sunrise, in dairy parlors, open pastures, on ranches and feed yards across America. A place where reputation is more than a name, where the science of healthier animals is a way of life. It's the responsibility that drives who we are and what we do. Every decision, every day. It's your livelihood and our responsibility.
This hog is head over hoof for meal made from U.S. soybeans. Now, one hog isn't that impressive, but suppose we add another, and another, and another. Before long, you've got billions of hungry customers around the world all clamoring for the same thing. Our soybeans. Learn more about the billion-dollar appetite of animal agriculture at BeyondTheElevator.com. Brought to you by America's soybean farmers and their checkoff.
The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine is a leader in food animal research and education. Our researchers are constantly expanding the knowledge of animal health and food safety. Through the Veterinary Health Center and the Kansas State Veterinary Diagnostic Lab, we provide practical services for animal producers. Home of the Beef Cattle Institute, the college is committed to animal welfare training and research. The Kansas State University College of Veterinary Medicine, knowledge and service for the future of animal production.
Beef producers need a practical choice when antibiotic therapy is required. More than ever, they are reaching for non-prescription Noromycin 300LA from Norbrook, specially formulated to produce sustained antibiotic blood levels up to 4 days in cattle. Noromycin 300LA delivers economic, broad-spectrum disease management for pneumonia, shipping fever, pink eye, wound infections, and foot rot. See for yourself why Norbrook's Noromycin 300LA is the practical choice for your herd.
Hi there, I'm Dr. Dan. Join me next week as Dr. Chris Reinhardt will join me to talk about heat stress in cattle. Be sure to join me here every Monday afternoon at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on RFD TV, and I'll see you down the road.
TrueTest Group, weighing systems, electronic identification, EID, electric fencing, and dairy automation systems help farmers and ranchers around the world manage the performance of their livestock for ultimate profitability.
Hi there, folks. Welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson from Kansas State University, and we're on the road today, and we're meeting with Dr. Fred Gingrich, who is a dairy and beef practitioner who owns a mixed animal practice in Ashland, Ohio. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate the discussion that we're having on antibiotics and judicious use of these antibiotics. And as we're talking during the break, we're saying, hey, let's talk about what kind of records people need to be keeping when they're on the farm or ranch. So what are some of the things that you recommend to your clients that we need to be keeping track of?
You know, the FDA has defined what they want in treatment records, and various producer and veterinary organizations such as AABP have templates for what should be in treatment records. You know, the big items we want an ID of the animal, we want the date they were treated, what they were treated with, how much they were treated with, how it was given, was it injection, IV, IM. We also want listed on there the appropriate meat or milk withholding times, and then it's a good idea, especially for larger operations, to record who gave the treatment, the employee.
Oh yeah, and then you can go back and double check to make sure that we don't have a operator error within the operation. When you're talking about withholding times, how do we come up with withholding times, and is that set by FDA, USDA?
When products are approved, the drug sponsors, the pharmaceutical companies that are requesting that approval for that product, they submit that data to the FDA, and an appropriate withholding time is derived. They base it on the intake of that food product by people, called an average daily intake, and the FDA arrives at a safe level of that product in the meat or milk. And it's typically in parts per million or parts per billion, a teaspoon in an Olympic swimming pool. Very minute amounts are that we deplete that level to before it's safe for human consumption.
Gotcha. And so records, withholding times, you know, what's something else that a producer probably needs to be, you know, we talked about the valid veterinary client-patient relationship. What are some of the things that any additional records or?
I think a big thing is that when you're using a drug in an extra label manner,
Yeah.
how that affects both the law and your withholding time. And by that I would mean, like an example would be, let's say you're giving a dairy cow penicillin. And the label for penicillin is about 10 cc's for an adult Holstein cow. And most veterinarians and dairy producers use much higher doses for effectiveness of the product. Well, when you do that, you change the withhold. That's an extra label use. You're using it in a manner not listed on the label. You need to then get that information from your veterinarian, what the appropriate meat and milk withholding time is. So all extra label use needs to have that veterinary input.
Perfect. Well, we're going to take a break. Great information, folks. Hope you're enjoying the show today. We'll be back here after the break. More with Dr. Fred Gingrich.
Beef producers asked for it, and Norbrook delivers. Introducing new Enroflox 100, the newest addition to your arsenal for treating bovine respiratory disease. Enroflox 100 is an FDA-approved, ready-to-use injectable antimicrobial solution to treat BRD associated with Mannheimia hemolytica, Pasteurella multocida, and Histophilus somni in beef and non-lactating dairy cattle. Administered SQ as a multiple-day therapy. Consult with your veterinarian today about Enroflox 100, the new choice.
Hi, I'm Kevin Ochsner, host of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman and Colorado Rancher. Join me each week as the National Cattlemen's Beef Association brings you the latest updates in industry information and market news. Plus, each week we provide important educational information and features on cattlemen from across the country just like you. And we can't forget our favorite cowboy poet, Baxter Black. Join me for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, debuting Tuesday nights at 8:30 Eastern, right here on RFD TV.
Hi there, I'm Dr. Dan. Be sure to join me next week as my guest will be Dr. Chris Reinhardt, who is an associate professor in animal science and industries here at Kansas State University. We're going to discuss heat stress and heat stress prevention in cattle. We'll talk about clinical signs, subclinical signs, lost performance, and much more. Join me here every Monday afternoon on RFD TV, and I'll see you down the road.
Join the team, the Beef Quality Assurance Team. Getting BQA certified shows you're committed to practices that produce the highest quality beef in the world. And by visiting BQA.org, you can take the online certification course at a time that fits your schedule and from the comfort of your home or office. You'll also find lots of helpful tips on improving animal health and animal handling practices. Get certified, BQA certified, because it's about doing the right thing. Visit BQA.org today and become a member of the BQA team.
This segment is brought to you by the Beef Quality Assurance Program and the Kansas Beef Council, improving animal care and beef safety for more than 20 years.
Hi there, folks. Welcome back to Doc Talk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Fred Gingrich, who is a dairy and beef practitioner from the Ashland, Ohio area, and he also owns a mixed animal practice there. And we've had a great show and really enjoy you taking the time to spend with us, Fred. And you know, when we talk about antibiotics, the big thing we want to avoid is residues in our food products. And that's the reason why it's so important that we manage these appropriately. But let's just start out with what's a residue. And
what a residue is it's when a meat or milk, egg product, a food product derived from an animal, has a level of antibiotic in it above what the FDA considers to be a safe level.
Okay, and as we look through the beef and dairy industries, you know, what are some of our, I don't want to call them problem products, but there are some that cause us more issues, whether it's how we inject them or where we give them that are causing us some problems.
Well, the first thing I think is that we have made great strides. The number of meat and milk residues has decreased dramatically, and that's through the efforts of both farmers and veterinarians. But some of the common residues would be, for instance, like flunixin or Banamine is a common trade name. Giving that product in a manner not listed on the label, which is IV only, greatly increases the risk of a residue.
And it's a great product. I mean, you know, that's the thing is that we're not here trying to, you know, say anything negative about a product.
Absolutely.
It's one of those things that's a service to the product because we want to make sure we have it to be able to utilize it.
That's right. You know, we use a lot of it, and it's a good product. But it should be used, you know, according to the label, how it's written. Penicillin would be another one, like we talked about. It's a common cause of meat residues, and you know that's from using higher doses, like we talked about in the last segment, and not changing the withholding times.
And I think it's important too that people understand that if you don't give, if it's an over-the-counter drug like penicillin, and you go buy it at the Fleet and Farm or wherever, and you use it at a dosage that's not on the label, you have to have veterinary oversight to be able to do that, and so that you can get that extra withholding time.
That's correct. That's extra label drug use. Yep. And in order to use a drug in an extra label manner, the direction has to come from a veterinarian. Not on each individual case, but you have to, if your veterinarian has prescribed a protocol for treating a disease with a certain antibiotic that's extra label, as long as that's come from your veterinarian and you follow his or her meat and withholding times and keep records, then you're in compliance.
So what's kind of your bullet list on antibiotics?
You know, I think the first one is get a diagnosis, have a protocol from your veterinarian, and treat the animals that need to be treated appropriately. And then keep good records and make sure that you're following the appropriate meat and milk withholding times.
Thanks again for joining us today. It's been a great show.
Thank you.
Folks, I hope you enjoyed it. Some great information on a very practical and relevant issue that we're seeing in the operation. We want to keep our drugs working, safe, and keep them as a tool in the toolbox. If you want to know more about what we do on DocTalk, you can find us at www.doctalktv.com. Remember, always work with your local practitioner. We appreciate you watching the show. You've been watching Doc Talk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson from Kansas State University, and I'll see you down the road. Folks, I'm so proud to be a part of the beef industry and the many things that we and cattle producers get done, whether it's looking at cow-calf operations, stocker and backgrounder operations, or things that we do here in commercial cattle feeding operations. We really do produce a safe, wholesome, affordable product for consumers, and it goes from a lot of people who care a lot about the cattle that they raise, and they care about the customer that they're serving and the consumer. And when we look at programs such as Beef Quality Assurance, Progressive Beef, things that are tied into providing a product on the table, it gets down to being able to execute it at the ground level. And we have so many people that care. We're very thankful for the opportunity that the industries here in Kansas allow us to come into their operations, provide some transparency, and show you what all goes into providing the meat and eggs that are on your dinner table. Thanks for watching the show, and I'll see you down the road. Closed caption brought to you by AgriLabs, the perfect pairing of performance and value.
For more information about this program or previous programs, go to DocTalkTV.com.